Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about a very important topic about road safety and to discuss how vehicles can contribute to reducing the number of road deaths and serious road traffic injuries across the European Union. But first of all, I would like to say a few words about my organization. So the European Transport Safety Council is a non-governmental, non-profit organization, and we are based in Brussels. Our work is dedicated to reducing the number of road deaths and serious road traffic injuries. And we base our approach on scientific evidence. So whenever we are advocating for road safety, our advocacy work is evidence-based and science-based. And European Transport Safety Council has 60 member organizations from across Europe. Our organizations are research institutes, universities, and non-governmental organizations. And here in Greece, we have 3 very active members, 3 good friends of ETSC, and these are Panos Milonas Institute, of course, National Technical University of Athens, and Hellenic Institute of Transport. So briefly about European Transport Safety Council's activities. First of all, we work on policies. So we monitor road safety developments at the European Union level. And whenever there is an upcoming legislation that is related to road safety or any other initiative, we give our expert advice to the European Union decision makers. And we also run a number of projects that are tackling different road safety problems, and the results of our project work feeds into our policy work. And now let's talk about road safety in the European Union. 25,047 people lost their lives in the European Union on our roads in 2018. And the problem is that this is a figure that has been unchanged since 2013. You might know that the European Union has set a target to reduce the number of road deaths by 50% over the period 2010 to 2020. And unfortunately, we are not on track. So the blue line above shows where we are in reducing the number of road deaths as the European Union, and the bottom line, the dotted line, shows where we are supposed to be if we were on track. And unfortunately, since 2013, we see a plateau. We are struggling. And this figure shows relative change in the number of road deaths since 2010 in different European countries, including all European Union member states. So if we were on track with the target, in 2018, we were supposed to reduce the number of road deaths by almost 43%. The actual progress was 21%. If we look at the front of this figure, we see that Greece is the only European Union country that is so far on track with the target, with 45% reductions in the number of road deaths over the period 2010 and 2018. And Greece is followed by Lithuania, so only those 2 countries are on track. At the other side of the ranking, we see United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Sweden, and those countries have low road mortality rate. And unfortunately, in recent years, since 2010, they are really struggling to reach a breakthrough. We see a very strong slowdown in the United Kingdom, while in the Netherlands and Sweden, the numbers of road deaths are going up. But when we discuss road safety, we should also look at the road mortality, so deaths per million inhabitants. And here we can see individual road mortality for European countries, including all European Union member states. And we see that the European Union average mortality rate is 49 deaths per million inhabitants. And here we can see Greece. Greece has made a very, very significant progress. And now it has above 33 road deaths per million inhabitants, compared to 122 in 2010. So the progress is obvious. And if we look at the front of the ranking, we see that the safest country in terms of road safety in Europe and in the world is Norway, with 20 deaths per million inhabitants. So this is the same figure, just presented in a map, and different colors show different mortality rates. So the European Union, the European Transport Safety Council is working to try to bring all those countries into the dark green color with very low mortality rates and low differences. We would like to see diminishing differences between the safety or road safety in the member states. But of course, when we talk about road safety, we have to also consider serious road traffic injuries, because road deaths is a tip of an iceberg. According to the European Commission estimates, in 2014, 135 people were seriously injured on our roads based on the common definition of what serious road traffic injury is. And when we look at those numbers, at those horrible numbers, we have to realize that actually European Union vehicle safety standards have helped us to improve. They have helped us to improve, and they will continue to help us in the process of improving road safety, because those numbers would have been much higher if it wasn't for improved vehicle safety. And European Union has an exclusive competence, exclusive power to legislate on vehicle safety standards in the European Union. So here we can see some historical developments when certain safety measures were introduced and became standard in vehicles. And a big breakthrough, I would say, was in the early 1990s when seatbelts became compulsory. And here we can see how the numbers of road deaths were decreasing steeply. Of course, when we talk about road safety, we have to keep in mind that vehicle safety is just part of all the measures that are necessary to bring those numbers down. So vehicle safety measures have been coupled with infrastructure safety, traffic law enforcement. Talking about vehicle safety, around 1.5 years ago, the European Commission published the third mobility package. And this package included 2 legislative proposals, including the revision of the General Safety Regulation. So the regulation that sets vehicle safety standards for those vehicles that will be sold on the European Union markets. And after 1 year of negotiations between the Parliament and the Council of the European Union, the agreement has been reached. It was a very big day for road safety, because we believe that this legislation is as important as the introduction of a seatbelt. So what comes with the General Safety Regulation? Well, actually, it will be applicable for all vehicles, so electric or non-electric vehicles, all those vehicles will have to comply. And one very important technology that has been introduced is the intelligent speed assistance. We will also have alcohol interlock interface installation facilitation, as well as improved direct vision for buses and heavy goods vehicles. So here are the implementation dates, but I would not go into much details here. Perhaps afterwards this presentation can be shared. So why this general safety regulation is so important? Because lots of new safety measures, passive and active, are coming into force, and one extremely important measure, intelligent speed assistance, is there too. Because this legislation will help us to tackle one of the main problems in road safety, speed and speeding. Because speed remains a very important risk factor. It has greater effect on the number of accidents and injury severity than almost all other known risk factors. And these are the words of the researcher, well-known researcher Earl Vikrune. So what is intelligent speed assistance? This technology sends speed limit information to the vehicle, so the driver is informed when he or she is exceeding the speed limit, and the system works via digital maps or by cameras that can read the speed signs. It is estimated that intelligent speed assistance alone can reduce the number of road deaths by 20%. And it will also help to reduce the CO2 emissions. Also, ISA will help drivers to avoid the speeding tickets. And intelligent speed assistance will become mandatory in 2022 for new models and 2024 for current models. Feedback should be provided through an accelerator control, so when the driver is trying to exceed the speed limit, it should become more difficult to press the accelerator pedal, but it would be possible to exceed the speed limit anyways. This is the intelligent speed assistance that European Transport Safety Council would like to see, but now the European Commission is still working with the technical specifications how this system would look like. Precisely, and those technical specifications will be delivered within half a year. It would also be possible to switch that function off if a driver wants to do so. So it is estimated that the measures of the General Safety Regulation will help to save 25,000 lives and will help to prevent 140,000 serious road traffic injuries over 15 years. And the fact that there is ISA, it is very important because ISA will make drivers to comply with speed limits, and therefore the functionality of, for example, autonomous emergency braking system will be improved. Also, if collisions occur and if the driver was keeping the speed limit, the consequences should be less severe. Another important safety feature that comes with the General Safety Regulation is the direct vision standard for trucks. So here we see a truck of today, and all those cyclists are in the blind spot. The driver doesn't see them. And this is on the left side, no, on your right-hand side, we can see the direct vision concept for the future. So the direct vision would mean the driver sits lower, the cabin is lower, and there are more windows so that the driver can have direct view of vulnerable road users that are next to the cabin. But also the standards are still being discussed how exactly the cab will have to look like. And direct vision standards will become mandatory from 2025 for new models and 2028 for current models. So General Safety Regulation also helps to pave the way for autonomous cars, because we couldn't imagine an autonomous car going and exceeding the speed limits. Such cars should never be allowed on our roads. Also, autonomous emergency braking systems, lane keeping assist, as well as event data recorders will help us to prepare for the future of automation. And last but not least, the European Commission has recently published the European Union Road Safety Strategy for the upcoming decade. And in the strategy, it sets key performance indicators. So the European Commission is asking countries to collect data for certain performance indicators, and one of those indicators is on vehicle safety. And actually, it's comprised of two indicators. One will be on the proportion of new passenger cars with a Euro NCAP safety ranking equal or above a predefined threshold, for example, 4 stars, and a complementary indicator will be on the age of the vehicle fleet. And we saw this figure a few times today about the vehicle age, but I would just like to draw your attention that a newer vehicle fleet is not necessarily the silver bullet that helps to solve all road safety issues. Because if we look at this figure, we see that Belgium has one of the safest car fleets newest car fleets in the European Union, with 8 years on average. However, when we look at road mortality rate in Belgium, they have 50 deaths per million, so above the European Union average, and it's ranked 15th in terms of road mortality in the EU. So it's performing, I would say, worst out of all Western European countries. On the other hand, we have Spain, for example. Spain has average age of vehicles of 12 years, but it has 40 deaths per million inhabitants, 40 road deaths per million inhabitants, and it is ranked sixth in the European Union in terms of road mortality. So new cars, safe cars, definitely help to improve road safety, but it is not a silver bullet. We need measures, overall measures, including infrastructure, including active traffic law enforcement. So I think Greece should not be discouraged about the old vehicle fleet. Road safety is possible to achieve even with older vehicle fleet. And of course, when we talk about road safety in the European Union, we have to recognize that both European Union legislation as well as Euro NCAP were the driving forces that helped to improve car safety in the European Union. Because the car that complies with the minimum requirements, minimum current vehicle safety requirements, would not even score 0 stars by Euro NCAP. But we know that current requirements are really updated. That's why we needed the revision of the General Safety Regulation, which has been recently adopted. So, some conclusions. General Safety Regulation promises a major breakthrough. It is as important for road safety as the seat belt. And new mandatory safety measures will result in lives saved. Of course, it's been discussed today that vehicle fleet renewal is a long process. But this process can be accelerated by public authorities who buy cars for themselves, or also do public procurement of vehicles that serve the public needs, for example, buses or garbage trucks. So I think what we need to do is we need to discuss more how safety targets can go hand in hand with environmental targets, and how those policies, road safety policies, can be connected to environmental policies. Thank you very much.